In this video, I'm going to give tips on how you can improve your confidence when speaking a different language abroad, on holiday for example. So if, for example, this summer you've got a holiday planned to a foreign country and you want to know bits of the language just so you can communicate in a bar or a restaurant, then this is the video for you. My name's James, I'm native in English, puedo hablar español y anche posso parlare italiano. I help people reach a conversational level in a different language. I'm going to share a few of my best tips and advice for when it comes to speaking a different language and having confidence in your abilities to try out new words and phrases. So let's get started. In my opinion, there's people who want to learn a language, just the basics of a language, just to get by while on holiday. This is different from other scenarios where, for example, myself, I like learning a language to be able to communicate and have more deeper conversations with people. So for me, certain things like the more delicate areas of a language, like the grammar and specific word order and things like that matter more to me. Whereas if you're using it for on holiday, all you need is a certain set of words and phrases, mainly phrases actually, because you're going to be using language for a specific situation or a few situations, like ordering your food and drink in a bar, or going to a restaurant, or making a new friend, or asking for directions in a different country. So there's different use cases. In this video, I'm going to target people who want to learn a language for holidays instead. With that said, the first thing you should do is look up a common list of phrases and words that you're likely to want to use on holiday. So I'm not going to list language specific terminology because this channel isn't for that, but I will list some examples of what you could use. For example, where is the train station? What time is it at the moment? Could I order this please? Or how much is this? Simple things like that really, where it's like how, what, where. When you want to find information, those are the ideal phrases that you can use when in a different country. However, be aware that when you get an answer from the person, you might not know exactly what they're talking about, so try and research a few keywords around it as well, like drink, eat, table, things like that that the waiter or waitress might ask you when you say the phrase originally. So you might ask them something like, oh, how much is this? They might reply with a number or something, and if you can get the gist of what they're saying back to you, just in the context of things, and you can sort of have an educated guess based on what might happen normally in your native country, then that will help you massively. On another note, you can use Chat GPT for this if you have access to that. So this is where AI can come in really useful. You can type into it, you can literally type this following phrase into it. If, for example, you're wanting to learn a bit of Spanish, you could type in, for example, I want to learn a few basic Spanish phrases for when I go on a holiday. The situation I want to use it for is in a restaurant and in a bar. Could you please give me a list of phrases and words that might be useful in this scenario? And obviously replace Spanish with Italian or whatever country you're going to, replace it with the language for that country. Something to bear in mind, however, I learned the hard way when going on a holiday. So if you go to a really touristy place, they're not going to want to speak to you back in their own language. If you're English or from say America or anywhere that speaks English, they're going to want to show off, or they're going to want to accommodate you and welcome you by speaking your language. So they're going to want to speak some English with you. For you, that's not ideal because you want to practice their language, but for them, they want to get the order right. They want to get the order completely right because the chances for them are that you might say the wrong thing and they mess up your order, then it's their fault. So that's a risk on their behalf. But if you find somewhere that's not too touristy, for example, if you're going to Spain, you're going to Barcelona, you might find that a lot of bars and restaurants, the staff there speak English, and they speak quite well, and they will want to naturally have a conversation in English with you. And so if you're not bothered about the language and you want to have a holiday, perfect, go there. But if you want to have a go at practicing the language, don't pick somewhere touristy. Pick somewhere which is a bit less well known. You can still get a flight into Barcelona, but if you're having a holiday, try not to stay in a super touristy place, because if you do that, you might not be able to get the chance to speak as much of the target language as you'd like to. The next point is a massive point. Bear in mind the background noise of the situation that you're in. If, for example, if you're in your native country, you're in a bar or restaurant and you're talking with friends or with the staff, you might not even be able to hear what they're saying, and that's in your native language. So imagine what it's like if it's noisy situation, and you're trying to say something in Spanish. You've practiced it at home, you're really ready to speak it, and suddenly you say it and they're like, what? They're like, okay? And you're like, oh, I thought I was good at Spanish. I thought I was okay. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. So that's where your confidence goes down, but you don't really consider the background noise. You just think, they haven't understood me. I tried speaking their language. I now feel bad. So bear in mind background noise and try and, if there's a lot of background noise, try not to speak their language then. To increase your chances of having confidence when you're speaking with them, try and pick somewhere that's quieter. If the background noise is quiet enough for you to have a conversation with your friends, if they speak your same language, then if that's okay, then you can try it with the waiter or waitress or staff member. Same goes to busy places outdoors. If there's a lot of traffic going on and you're trying to ask for directions, make sure it's quiet first. Or if it's really noisy, go somewhere else and find somewhere else in a different location to ask for directions. So just bear in mind the amount of background noise and just think, if I was speaking in my native language to someone in this scenario, could I understand them? If the answer is no, then move somewhere else. Another point is when you're in a restaurant or a bar and you're speaking with the staff there, they have a job to do. And they want to be as efficient and quick as possible getting your order, making sure it's correct, and then getting it to you in time. However, you might find that they're very rushed when they're asking you what you want to eat. So they might come to your table and they're quite rushed. It might be a busy evening when you're having a meal with your friends, and they come over and they're like, right, what would you like to eat quickly? And you're trying to decide, and they're getting the order. If at that point you try and speak their language, or Spanish or Italian, wherever you're going to, and they seem quite ignorant, they seem quite rushed, that is not a good start. You shouldn't try and practice your language in that situation. Make sure, if you want to practice it, that the staff members are relaxed or they're friendly. If they're smiley and they might make conversation with you, they might start a conversation. They might say, oh, where have you been tonight, or where are you planning to go later, sort of thing. If that's the case, that's an opening for you to start talking in there, or say, hi, I'm trying to practice your language, can we have a go at having a conversation? That is a great way to do it, because staff members have a job to do, and ideally you don't want to stop them from doing their job. So pick your moments when you want to practice the language, and they'll appreciate it massively. It will also make you feel like there's less of a rush, because I've had it in the past when I've been trying to speak Spanish, they reply super quickly to me and I'm like, what did you say, sorry? And I didn't quite get it. If they spoke a bit slowly and less rushed, I would understand what they're saying. It's quite simple. But when it's rushed and you've got your friends listening to you, you're trying to show off your skills and impress people, and you're trying to communicate, the worst thing you want to do is trying to rush, because it'll come out worse than how you're actually able to speak. It won't show your true potential because it's too rushed. The best scenario is when it's more informal, relaxed, and you can get words out properly. The next tip is super useful, is what I do all the time. So, if you're trying to say something like, oh, where is the station, or something, you're trying to get directions, but you don't quite know the word for station, or you're not quite sure the word for where, or something, try and say it a few times a few different ways, and therefore you're increasing the chance that one of those times that you say it will be right and will be understood. Quite often, if you're a foreign person going in a different country, even if you're quite fluent, the accent might be a bit different, the way you say vowels and stuff. So don't let it put you off. Try and say a few different versions of it, and eventually one way of saying it will click with a native speaker and they will understand what you're saying. So they might be a bit confused and you say it one way and suddenly they're like, oh, you mean that? Okay, yes, it's over there, it's over there. So the way that you said station might not have been right. It might have been slightly different accent and they didn't quite understand it. Normally, given the context, they would probably understand what you're saying. But in case they don't, try and say a word a few different times until they get it. So that is it. I hope you found this video valuable. Hopefully, it gives you a bit of insight as to how to build confidence for yourself and what to look at, because we don't always question the scenario and the situation that we're in. So thanks for watching, as always. Give it a like if you enjoyed it, and feel free to subscribe as well for more content like this. Thanks, and see you next time.